Hello everyone, Ceri Griffiths here, or Ceri the Crafter. Now, I've had lots of contact from you asking me how did my trip to Chicago go for the 4th of July weekend, when am I going to do an update, when am I going to do a video about it, etc, etc. I've been undecided about doing this video, and I must admit, this is why I wanted to come on first and talk to you before I went into doing the collage page. The overall view is I had a fabulous time. It was wonderful to see my friends. It was wonderful to catch up with them. I went over for 4th of July parade and weekend, which is obviously American Independence Day. I sort of, in my own personal way, wanted to view it as my own Independence Day because although COVID hasn't completely gone, the restrictions were mainly lifted and it felt like an Independence Day to me. It's the first time I would have travelled in nearly 3 years, to be able to get back to some sort of normality. However, part the way through my vacation, which was only less than a week, I went to the parade, I went to Vernon Hills, and the shooting happened a few miles away from us, and it sort of, I don't know, well, it did kind of taint my holiday, without that sounding selfish, but it also did change my holiday and change me a little bit and made me a bit cautious. And anyway, I just wanted to translate some of that into collage, which I'm going to be doing now. I do want to say to anyone who's going to watch this collage, I am probably going to talk about guns, I'm going to talk about mass murder and death because they were part of that vacation. If that offends you or it bothers you, please turn off this video now. I don't want to offend anyone, but I do feel I'd like to say a few things about it. Now, there are some out there who are going to say, why is a Brit having an opinion? And you may think you're correct. I actually don't think you're correct. I worked out of America for at least 14 years. Chicago was actually my home for several years. I ended up leaving America and I didn't renew my work papers for no other reason. My life had changed then and I moved back home. But I do feel, as someone who was there at the time and someone who used to live in America and regarded myself as sort of partly American because I was living there and working there for so long, I do feel I have a view, although it's a completely generalized view of the situation because I don't live there any longer. So anyway, so without further ado, we're going to go to the overhead. I'm going to do one of my collage spreads, celebrating and immortalizing, if that's the right word, my journey in a collage, just so it's there for my own memory's sake. But as I said, if you're likely to be upset by me discussing guns, gun controls, mass murder, mass shootings, then please just stop watching now, because I don't want to upset you, I don't want to offend you. However, I try never to lie or mislead my subscribers and followers, and I don't want to say that this whole vacation was sunshine and lollipops, because it wasn't. There was a bit of a dark cloud over the vacation I took, and I want to keep it real because then I can translate that to my collage, which when I look back will always be a reminder. And yes, I did keep my journal going, and I'll do a quick flick through of parts of it. Not all of it obviously gets into a private journal, but anyway. So enough of me gassing on, let's just flip the camera over and get on with it. Okay, hope you enjoy this one, guys, and I'll try to keep it as light-hearted as I can. So here I am at the overhead. I've got the page already raring to go. I put some tape along the top as I normally do, because that just helps reinforce the holes that I punched through the paper. Now, before I get started, I did promise you, and lots of you asked, did I use my journal? Yes, I did use my journal, but as you can see, I only used probably about half of it. So a one signature journal is probably going to do 2 weeks at least of a vacation. Now, I'm going to do a little bit of a quick flip through, but I'm going to try and cover things up to a certain extent because, to be honest with you, it's my personal journal. And there are some photographs in here on one of the pages that I don't have permission to show you. So there you go. So anyway, and also a few people ask me, how do I use a journal? Now, I find journaling quite difficult because I hate my handwriting. Before I do that, let's get a bit of paper so I can cover up bits I don't want you to see. So basically, just started it. That was my first title page. Put in here things like this was where I got my money changed over here in Cardiff, my first prep days. As you can see, I put flight details, my boarding passes in here. Did I put anything on the back? Oh, little notes to myself on the back of the tags. I put some journaling on the back of this tag. So as you can see, I did actually, why can't I get that back in there? I did actually add some tags and tuck spots in here. I sewed some, stuck some stuff in. When I was in Chicago, we went to see this show. It's in Chicago in a hotel. Apparently it runs year round. The cast changes, and we went to see this before the 4th of July. And it was a wonderful show. Really enjoyed it. It's like cabaret in a tent in a hotel. They interact with you, and it's dinner theatre. So that was lovely. More journal cards. I'm not 100% sure I finished filling this in yet, but I've done the best I can. We went out for dim sum one day, so I grabbed one of the menus just as a reminder of what was there. More journaling, more journaling. Now this marks the start of 4th of July, and on this tag here is all I've actually written about the 4th of July, and it was basically to capture the details of the day, and I left 2 spare pages because I was going to write my feelings and emotions on the day. I couldn't do it. I wrote little bits in there, but I still have yet to write my feelings down for the 4th of July because I don't know how I want to do that. Then when I was there, because I was supposed to be with this group of friends for my 60th birthday, and I'm heading towards my 63rd birthday, they did a birthday party for me to celebrate my 60th. So that was a nice thing. Actually, I haven't done the 6th either. So yeah, and then this was my flight home. I put the tickets in here. And then all of this is like documentation I had to get through, passes, and anyway, you can understand. So I've done what I could in here. I still haven't finished fully filling in my journal, but I was doing it as I was going along, and then I kind of got waylaid and life took over, to be honest. So with no further ado, let's get started on this. Now, I do have quite a pile of stuff in front of me that I pulled out. Some will go on, some won't go on. I don't know. I'm just going to put them down as I see fit. So as I normally do, I want to establish the edges of the pages. Now, this I found in a magazine, and I think that's going to be absolutely perfect for there. It sets the tone for the whole page. It's obviously America. It's for me, it will symbolize 4th of July parade and 4th of July celebrations, the independence, all that. This was out of a National Geographic magazine that I had. I was online on eBay recently and won an auction to buy a bundle of National Geographic magazines, and I won it, and I was quite happy about that because I didn't have any. I'm just going to use this scraper just to smooth this down, get the glue done. So that's sort of established the page. I do have another piece of it which I'm unsure. I wonder whether that would make a good other side to the page. Maybe it will. Let me just rip this down. So let's start the journey from the very beginning. I had a bit of difficulty getting my documentation organised to go to the States. and I don't mean visa waivers and passports and all of that lot. That was all fine with me. Everything was hunky-dory. It was all in place. I knew it was in place. I'm a very seasoned traveller when it comes to going back and forth to America, so I knew what I needed to do. However, with the new COVID restrictions, or the COVID restrictions that were on flight and travel and that, I got a bit lost in the entire mix. There was documents to sign, there was vaccination certificates to prove, there was a COVID test you had to do no more than 24 hours ahead, although if I did it 24 hours ahead, I had to have the result by 6:30 in the morning, but I couldn't have the test till 9 o'clock the day before, so therefore it was just stressing me out. And then what else? Let's put some of this in because I like this. This will represent Lake Michigan to me, I think. And then another thing was that I was flying British Airways, and British Airways wanted, I've got a glue book over here, by the way, if you're hearing a noise. British Airways wanted you to use an app called Verifly, to upload all your documents prior to check-in. Well, I managed to get one document updated and uploaded onto it, but it wouldn't recognise my other documentation, so I was stressing, I must admit, and my anxiety got me to the point where I nearly just threw the towel in and said, I'm not going to go. I just couldn't deal with it. I couldn't get the app to work. The help desk didn't understand why it wasn't working for me, which wasn't very helpful because all I was saying was it's just not working. I couldn't make it work, so I don't know. And to this very day, I don't know whether it was something I was doing or whether it was something. It kept basically telling me on my vaccination, when I tried uploading my vaccination stuff, it kept telling me that I had the wrong date of birth. Now, obviously, I know my date of birth. That would just be stupid not to know it. So I double checked. Yes, I'd entered it correctly. I couldn't have entered it any other way anyway because it was a National Health Certificate document. It was married up with my passport. So all of it, I couldn't have done it wrong. I couldn't have done it wrong. And it was beginning to really annoy me because it kept telling me that I was wrong. My date of birth was incorrect. I couldn't get past that. And I think what it was I'm going to use these as reference to the fact that I actually journaled while I was there. They're just bits from pages of another book. So I'm just going to use that. And I quite like that as well. I might put that on there because where I was in Lake Michigan, there were butterflies there. And I enjoyed my time looking at those. Anyway, so yes, that really had me worried. And then someone told me the day before I flew that I was supposed to have changed my passport because I had a European passport, and on October the 1st, we all had to change our documentation over to be a British passport because we're no longer part of Europe. So everything was up against me, and I was like, oh, come on. So I got on the coach at 2 o'clock in the morning, going to Heathrow, not knowing whether I was going to be on the 6 o'clock coach coming back again because I completely and utterly screwed it up. And the way my anxiety works is it actually tells me that everything I've done is wrong, therefore everything's going to fail. It just flips through to the worst case scenario, and that's not very helpful. So anyway, needless to say, I got to Heathrow Airport and I got to the BA check-in area, and I couldn't check in because I was too early. They said you had to check in so many hours ahead to have all your documentation in place, and it had to be, your documentation had to be in place 2.5 hours before you flew, although I wasn't allowed to check in till 3 hours before I flew. The trouble with that scenario is, at what point do you join the line to try and get to check in exactly 3 hours ahead of time? So I went over to see the customer service rep that was there, and explained the situation I'd had with the app and trying to get my documentation done and all of that. And hats off to BA. Their customer service people immediately went, right, come with us. So they took me to a certain area in Heathrow and sat me down, and we went through the documents that I had to fill in online. They double checked them. They were good as gold. They really were as good as gold. They sorted it all out. I mean, there were a couple of foibles, but I'm not going to go into that because it'll sound like I'm complaining about BA, and I'm not complaining about BA in the slightest. So I'm just going to leave that there. Needless to say, I checked in. Everything was fine because I had all the original documents with me. I was surprised that going through TSA, the security to get through to the gate, the other side to check in, it took me an hour. That normally takes me about 15 or 20 minutes. So that was a bit of a surprise. I think I want another piece of that somewhere. So that was a little bit of a surprise that it took me that long. But anyway, I did it. I got through. I stayed calm. I got through to the other side eventually. I got a bit held up because I was actually, this is it. This glue stick was in my carry-on. Now, when they go through security, they say, take your electronics out, take all of the liquids out of your possession, all of that. So I knew I'd done that. I knew I'd taken every bit of liquid and everything out. I was pulled aside because of a Pritt stick. Their scanners regarded a Pritt stick as a liquid. So I was kept waiting for 20 minutes because of this darn thing here. So in future, Ceri will not be carrying a Pritt stick in his hand luggage. So it was just slightly annoying, but there you go. So anyway, I got through there. I was very much surprised at Heathrow as to how few people were wearing masks. Now, it could be that I've just... because Wales, I think, was one of the last areas. So I'm using this, by the way, because it's got burning on it. And of course, there was loads and loads of fireworks all over my stay, like scarily large fireworks. So I wanted to put that in there because it represented the fireworks. I've forgotten where I was now. So yes, because Wales was one of the last countries or last parts of the UK to come out of restrictions, I was pretty much still wearing masks when I left Cardiff. So when I got to Heathrow, I expected everyone else to still be wearing masks, and very few travellers were wearing masks. And when I got to board my plane, I was shocked that very few people on the plane were wearing masks either. I mean, I kept my mask on for the whole flight. Just a certain bit of paranoia probably of my behalf, but I did keep my mask on. How much good it did, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I managed to go all the way to America and back through all of the airports and everything, and I didn't catch COVID, I didn't get the virus, I didn't do any of that. So either it wasn't my lot in life to get it, or the precautions I always take paid off. If there was one, and it's a little side effect that I smile about now, but it annoyed me at the time, is I had a little Ted Baker bag that I usually keep. It's a bit like a small messenger bag, and I always keep that because that's where I keep my documentation, I keep my wallet, I keep my Kindle, my iPad, my iPhone, and my inhaler because I'm a registered asthmatic. Anything that's important is in that little bag, and it never leaves my side. So of course throughout the airport, I've been hand sanitizing and handling my bag here and then everywhere. By the time I reached Chicago, the top edge of my bag had actually begun to dissolve, and the coatings were coming because the hand sanitizer was eating away at the fabric on the bag. So I had to buy a new bag, but that's a minor affair. Anyway, so the flight to Chicago was fine. Getting through security at Chicago O'Hare, I've never got through security so fast in my life. I mean, the last time I flew to Chicago, it took me 2 hours to get through customs, immigration, border control, whatever you call it, and collect luggage. However, this time my flight arrived early and I was out on the sidewalk waiting to be picked up at 1:10 in the afternoon. My flight wasn't supposed to have arrived till 1:10 in the afternoon. So that'll show you how far in advance and how fast everything worked. So anyway, so let me just do a few more things to this one I'm doing. I found this, so I think this is part of a digital from Gail Augustinelli that I use occasionally. Another thing of writing. I'm having the writing on this page not only because where did I put that? I had it in my mind. Well, where to put that? I've lost it all of a sudden. Maybe I'll just put it up there. Not only because of the journaling, but because to me that mass shooting was actually a historical event. So this is me recording it. So anyway, so did the drive back, had a wonderful reunion with my friend. I cannot say it was a little bit tearful. I didn't realise I'd bottled up so many emotions. But to see my friends and to see places that were familiar to me. We were on Lake Michigan. I mean, we were down here somewhere. If you know the coastline, I think that's Sheridan Drive. I'm not sure. I can't remember which one it is. But we were just up here somewhere. So it was wonderful. The weather was fabulous. In fact, it was too hot for me, but then it was too humid as well. But then, you know what? I'm not used to the heat and I don't really like the heat. So anyway, enough of the grumbling on that. Fabulous seeing my friends. We had a great reunion. We went out for food. It was just all I hoped it had been and more. And then we came to do the 4th of July weekend celebrations. Now I'm trying to do stuff as I go along. I wanted to put this on because I don't know. I wanted to put this on, and I've just covered up everything I wanted to put on there. Let's just leave that on my thinking part. Let's talk about the collage a little bit before I do this. Right, I wanted something that represented Chicago, which is probably that, because that's probably the most iconic view of Chicago. We had massive thunder and lightning storms while we were there as well, and of course, I was on the 19th floor of a condominium overlooking Lake Michigan. Believe me, thunder and lightning storms over Lake Michigan look incredible. There was also fireworks there as well. So I pulled a couple of firework things in. It was extremely hot, so I don't know which of these I'm going to use to represent the sun. Probably that, to be honest with you. It was amazing. I was so joyful at being able to just be there. So anyway, a friend of mine, Matt, was going to be performing in the Vernon Hills 4th of July parade. He does, he performs on something that's called a cry wheel or cree wheel. I can't remember what it's like, a metal hoop. And he spins and turns and does acrobatics within it and spins around. It's a pretty hard thing to describe, actually, but it's magical to watch. And he's usually booked to do parades and things like that. So he was in the parade. So we were all going to go and support him at the 4th of July parade in Vernon Hills. I don't know that I want all of that, but I do quite like the fact that I might cut this out. Shall I cut that out? Decisions. I might just cut that out because otherwise it's going to dominate the page. And I know it's an old American brand, but you know what? It may still exist. I don't know. So anyway, so Matt was performing in the parade and all of us were like, right, we're going to go and support Matt. So we'd arranged with other friends that I was supposed to catch up with when I was in America. And we all got into the cars and went up to a place called Vernon Hills, which is one of the suburbs of Chicago. And that was the parade we were going to see because I thought because I'd never really done the 4th of July parade. I thought there was only one parade. Obviously not. There's parades all over the place. So I bundled in the car with everyone else. We went off, got there early. Our parade started at, what time did it start? I think ours started at 9:15 in the morning. I'll put that just by there. That's a nice nod to that. At 9:15 in the morning. So we got there early, sat on the grass verge, loads and loads of people there. It was a lovely sunny day. People bought picnics with them, drinks. It was a full celebration, kids running around. Just exactly what you'd picture an American 4th of July parade to be. And it really was a wonderful event. So the parade started. Parade was rolling along beautifully. It was coming towards the end of our parade. Was it the end? Matt had just gone by. Matt was close to the end. So we'd already started walking along parallel to Matt to where the end of the parade would have been, because we knew there was only like a couple of floats behind him, and that was fine. And we wanted to beat the traffic out of there so that we didn't get caught up in traffic jams trying to get out of parking places. We also all wanted to go to have a late breakfast together, and we knew that Matt would have been exhausted because he'd been there from early morning, and he needed to get some food into him and a cup of coffee and up his liquids a bit, I think. So we thought, right, as soon as Matt's finished, we'll be there, get him some water, help him pack his stuff up and get him into the car. So we walked along there, and we were just getting to the meeting point at the end of the parade when all of a sudden all hell broke loose. All of the fire engines and everything, police, fire engines, ambulances, everything that had been in our parade suddenly just blue lights everywhere and tyres screeching, and it was just, well, I've got goosebumps, well, my hair's standing on end now just thinking about this. And they just screeched out the place. So we knew something bad was happening. So obviously we rushed on up, got Matt, got him into the car, and as we were driving out, we could see on the highways or freeways or whatever the hell they're called over there, that vehicles were hurtling in the opposite direction to the direction that we wanted to go in, which I kind of regard as a blessing, to be honest. But so I'm going to lay that on there because I think I want to do this over the top of some stuff. So we knew something was happening, but of course at that point, nothing had been announced. No one knew anything other than there was something going on. So we thought there must have been a big smash up on the highway or something. I'd really quite like to put Chicago in here somewhere. I've got an idea of something I want to put over there, but maybe it'll have to go in a different place. I think this is going to go here, just to celebrate that it was Chicago and it was beautiful as I remember, and it was sunny and glorious and gorgeous. So we thought it was just a big pile up on the highway somewhere, and that's just what everyone was thinking, just that sort of thinking. So we found a diner and we went in. We had a late breakfast, early brunch. We sat down. We were only there about 45 minutes because Matt was wet because he'd obviously been performing in the temperatures which were extremely high. So we went, okay, let's get you fed and then get you back to the condo so you can get yourself showered and changed, and then he'd feel more comfortable. So I'm finding it a little difficult to build and to talk at the same time. I'm wondering whether I've got something there I want to put. maybe that'd be a nice reminder, because that's not exactly where I stayed, but this is the coastline of it. So let's just tear that. So anyway, we got back to the condominium. Where I was staying was the condominium above Matt's condominium, because him and his other half live in the one condominium building, and the friend that I was staying with, Mary, hers is basically one floor up and on the opposite side of the building. So we went up, and as Mary was going back into her bedroom, I happened to flick the TV on just to see what was happening in the world. And that was when I saw the latest news flash that in Highland Park there'd been a mass shooting. Now, when I lived in America, I actually performed in Highland Park, so I knew the area. Also, Mary, the person was staying with, had, I don't want to put that number in there, had friends living in Highland Park, because that's the stuff she had. So it was a case of, we had connections with Highland Park, and if we hadn't gone to Vernon Hills, we could easily have been at Highland Park. And it suddenly really hit me that I'd been sat on that grass verge, fully exposed to the world, the same that the people at Vernon Park had been sat on the sidewalk with their camping chairs and their picnics, the same as us. And just for the grace of God, I wasn't there. And it really, it hit me. It hit me like a ton of bricks that actually the 4th of July could easily have been my last day. Lucky enough, it wasn't meant to be. Unfortunately, it was for others. And I just didn't get it. I did not understand how something like that can happen. It didn't register with me. I could not work out in my mind how in this day and age certain things can still be allowed to go on. It bothered me when I found out more about the shooter. The shooter was someone called Cremo. I can't remember his whole name. That's the only bit of his name I remember, was Cremo. But what blew me away was that he was known to the police. The police had actually been to his home. He was only, 22 years old, I think? Maybe 23, I can't remember exactly. He was known to the police or the authorities. They'd been to his home, I think it was the year before or maybe 2 years before, and actually taken away a whole load of large knives and weaponry from his house. Not firearms at that point, but pieces of weaponry from his home. So in my mind, he was on their radar, which is one of the mind-blowing things I couldn't get. It then came to light as they identified him of other things that had gone on. Now, I am saying only the things I learnt from newspapers and social media. So if I have got any of this wrong, please forgive me. I flew out a couple of days later and have never seen anything about it since, so I don't know what's come to light. However, his social media presence had shown him as a would-be rapper who was rapping about violence and rebellion and things along that ilk. And in some of the videos that he posted, he's showing weaponry. He's voicing how mass shootings would happen. Lots of this stuff, anyway, without going into detail that I can't 100% say is absolutely accurate. I have to be a little bit careful because I do not want to be quoted and then made to look a fool of because maybe I've been quoted wrong. So anyway, all of this is going on. First of all, it was seen by thousands of people. Did nobody think to pick up a damn phone or report it? Or where were the social media police when they're supposed to be checking? Heck, I have to be careful about what I say in a video and what words I show on a post on Facebook and social media. You have to be careful about how many flesh-coloured pixels you have on a photograph or it gets banned. But someone can do what they do. Anyway, let's fast forward a little bit past that. So anyway, he then was able to go out and legitimately buy firearms, like completely legally. He had the permissions to buy them. He went to a store and he bought them. And it was those firearms that he actually used to murder people and maim. Now, my issue is, now as I speak as someone who used to live in America at this point, guys, I fully understand that there are those people out there who should and have to, for their livelihood, carry firearms. I also understand that there are people who live in places like the wilderness and Alaska and places like that who have to have firearms to actually protect themselves, part of their livelihood. I understand that some people feel they have the need to carry a handgun. I am not saying people shouldn't have the right to bear arms. That's America. It's your constitution. That's fine. What I don't understand is you should not be able to purchase military-grade assault weapons. A farmer at most would possibly need a double-barreled shotgun. Someone who feels they need to protect themselves, maybe they need a small handgun. You might need a rifle. But seriously, military-grade firearms? Repeating action? Why? I don't get it. I just don't get it. I don't want to take away anyone's freedom. That's the choice of the government and the people. However, there is something seriously wrong at this point with being able to bear arms of that magnitude as a public person. You get where I'm going. I'm trying to be really diplomatic with what I'm saying here, guys, and I'm struggling, but you get what I'm saying. First of all, I don't think the event should ever have happened. I think it should have been stopped before it got to that point. There were means to understand that this person was going to do something. There were means out there that he should have been watched. There were things out there that... You get where I'm going. So, listen, we're going to stop labouring it because I'm going to get myself wound up. So, anyway, after the event, right, there's one piece on here that I was thinking about putting on, which is this image. And I just... For me, I saw this image and thought this image works. And I think it works because, for me, it's the faceless person who could just pull the trigger. You just don't know when, you don't know where, you don't know how, you just don't know who's watching you, why they're watching you. You don't even know who's about to pull the trigger, but I don't want the whole thing on here. I've decided I want to... It's too dominating, and I don't want it to dominate this memory. I think I want to take this down a level. So it needs a presence on the page, but it doesn't need to be a huge presence on the page. I just want it to be, this will represent those people who are completely anonymous until they've actually taken life. And for me, that's what this was. And I just struggle to get it. And I'm not one of these people who's lived a sheltered life. I can tell you, I have been to many countries in the world where violence and crime and gun power and all of this is very much apparent. But I don't know. And Chicago's always had an undertone of something, that whether it's gangs, whether it's mafia, whatever it is. It's a bit like New York. There's always an undertow of something going on. So I knew that when I went there, but I thought I was safe. And I was safe, but I could easily have not have been safe. So, right. So one of the things I want to put this on the page, because the shooting all of a sudden made me reassess whether I was going to stay in the condo or go out. Now, I was already nervous about going out because of the whole COVID thing. And I wanted to not be a coward to that. And I wanted to actually make sure that it's just, I'm struggling, guys. I can't find the words to say what I mean to say. I wanted to overcome the fear that I'd had since the start of the virus, that it wasn't safe to be out and about again. I wanted to try and regain some semblance of normality in my life. If you don't know me, or you haven't followed me for several years, my life has been about travelling. My work takes me around the world. I used to be lecturing and demonstrating and teaching and judging cake decoration design, bakery, confectionery. I used to be that guy that goes to all the shows, was hired to do stuff. And that's what I used to do. And the virus had taken that from me. And I wanted to get some of that back. I didn't want to be fearful of going out again. I'm wondering how far. I'm struggling a little bit. Placement is always a bit of a challenge. That feels right over there. Let's put it over there. So it was, the event sort of took the wind out of me. And at that point, when we found out what had happened, I just said to my friends, right, that's it. I'm not going out anymore. I was supposed to go to the museum and I was going to visit some art galleries in Chicago because they're things I like to do. I might even have gone to the Shed Aquarium again because I love going to the aquarium. We were going to go and do the botanical gardens, which I love the botanical gardens in Chicago. And I couldn't do it. I had to call time, and I said to my friends, listen, I want to stay. I don't want to fly out early. That would be a completely wrong thing to do. I felt safe in the condominium. I felt safe, for some reason I felt safe going down to the beach, which was at the bottom of the building. Don't know why I felt that was safe, but in my mind it was safe. But I didn't want to be in a public place, if that all makes sense. So we basically didn't go out to any restaurants after that. We pretty much kept our heads low. I didn't go to shopping. I wanted to have gone to Michael's, Joann's, Hobby Lobby. I had a shopping list. I'd set aside money to have a nice little spending spree because I hadn't done that for a while. And I just cancelled the whole lot because I did not want to be a victim to that. It just wasn't something I wanted to do. I would have put this on here, but it feels wrong now. It just seems like an odd element. And this is going to be a problem because I don't know what the heck to put in there. So anyway, so that's how that changed my vacation. And why I let that change me, I do not know. It just did. It was... Actually, that's quite cute there, isn't it? But maybe not. Sorry, I'm having a thoughtful moment, guys. I want this on the page, but I don't know where I want to put it on the page, and I don't. Maybe up there. This piece here for me is, it was trying to represent me trying to get back to my old self, to become part of the world again, and my whole world changed when that shooting happened. Now, will I go to Chicago again? Hell, I will. Yes, I've got friends there. I'm not going to let myself be beaten by that. But it just tainted that whole vacation. And I must admit, I for the people who went to that parade, it's just mind blowing that the families went, and families were the victims. I mean, that there's people there who never saw their children again. Their grandchildren never saw grandparents. Husbands never saw wives again. And that's just shocking to me that happened. So I can't judge anything because I don't have the right to judge, but I really do feel that, yes, Americans do have the right to bear arms. However, I do feel there should be some controls put into place that the people bearing arms have the right and the correct mental capacity to bear arms. So I think I'm just going to take that bit off there. I think that's what I want to say at this point. I think that's how I'm trying to word it. I don't want to say people shouldn't be allowed to carry arms. I just feel that why should innocent people suffer because someone wants to have a macho moment with a gun that I don't think they should be owning in the first place. So we're going to put that up there because we did have some massive thunderstorms. So I think you can now see why I've struggled with this, guys, with putting this video together, because I do know that there are some people out there who feel that the moment gun restrictions are brought in, that they lose their right to bear arms, and that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about there should be things put in place that save lives. Maybe I'll put another piece around here. There should be things in life that, I mean, they talk about they don't want to lose their freedom to bear arms. Does that mean that someone is okay with losing their freedom to have a life? I mean, I don't know. It's a bit of a mystery to me, guys, and one I'm probably not going to understand. And as I said, I'm not 100% fully aware of everything that went on. But what went on jarred me. I will probably never go to a 4th of July parade ever again in my life. Or if I do, it's going to be a huge thing for me to do it. I was not in danger at any point in my vacation, as far as I know. I mean, we were several miles away from the shooting. It was more of an emotional thing for me, and absolutely heartbreaking to see what had happened to other people on a day which for me at the time was absolutely glorious. The sun was shining, kids were playing. It was swelteringly hot. We had cold drinks on the go. We had a picnic with us. It was just such an idyllic day, and just within, well, the pull of a trigger, that happened for certain people, and then it just changed. It just absolutely changed. So I think I'm going to just put the last few pieces on here and call this one done. Because I feel I need to. I'm potentially beginning to ramble here. And I don't want to ramble. I think I've said my piece. I've made my point. and I have nothing more to say on it really. When I first got back from Chicago, I was very, very fired up, and I did consider doing a coffee with Ceri where I was going to have a big old rant and absolutely read the riot act. I was appalled that such innocent people had basically had their lives destroyed because one person was misdirected in their thinking, and it just blew me away. It just absolutely blew me away. I do feel this needs something in here. I don't think it needs another one of these. Right, I need to think for a second while I'm chatting away. I did pull something else out, but I don't think it works, which was, I was going to put that in as representing luggage because I was travelling. But that's certainly not my luggage. That looks a little bit like the bag that got destroyed. Wonder whether I can fussy cut that out. Bear with me while I do this. So yes, I look forward to going back to Chicago. I mean, I'm hopefully going to be there again next year at some point. I don't know, I might go over for Thanksgiving, or I don't know. I mean, I don't know. But it's difficult. Yeah, that might actually remind me of the story of my bag, to be honest, which is so not important in the bigger picture of things, but it is a memory from this trip. I'm wondering whether I've got maybe a Tim Holtz person that might work on here. There is a Tim Holtz person that is actually a little girl holding an American flag. I've already used one of them in my journal, and I'm wondering whether I have another one that I could use. Bear with me. Right, I'm going to quickly flick through this. I just feel this is missing a focal point. I don't think I've got that again. This, please don't ask me what package this is. This is the drawer that every single Tim Holtz paper doll that comes into my life ends up in. I don't believe it. Oh no, that's... I think that might be an American Cavalry, but that's not the one I'm looking for, and I don't think that's the one I want to put in there. I just want to pull it out of here so that I don't see it and keep pulling the same one out again. No, I really don't think I've got... When I went through this the first time, I thought I only had one copy of that girl anyway, so... Yeah, I think we'll just have to leave it at that. Yeah, I'm not going to put him on because I'm not sure that that's the right thing. So let's have a look. So I was a little bit distracted while doing this. So let's see whether I've got everything down. Obviously it was Chicago. The heat was a contributing factor. We had thunderstorms. We had fireworks going off all over the damn place. There were supposed to be laws in place where you couldn't have fireworks happening at certain points unless they were official. Believe me, they went off all over the place. This represents my world changing by staying in, staying out. That's my little bag that got destroyed, although it wasn't that particular one, but it did look very similar to that. It was July, Chicago. This represents the beach I was on. This represents my journaling, which I did. It was based in America, and this was the dark shadow in the back. Oh, I know, I want to do one more thing. Do I want to do that, is it? Yes, I wanted to do this, so I'm going to do this. Hopefully this bit doesn't upset anyone. I've been trying all the way along not to upset people, but I do feel this needs one more thing. So I've got some red archival ink. I've got a stamping block. And I've got some stamps. Now I'm wanting to put some red splatters on here. Hopefully no one will think it's tasteless, but I just wanted to represent the bloodshed that happened while I was over there. Not in a huge way. Oh, don't drop it. Put it all over myself. Not in a huge way, but I do want there to be a nod to the suffering that went on. I don't think I can match that over the top of that, can I? It didn't print very well the first time. That's a bit better. Right, and I just want one or two smaller splats. So, yeah, I don't feel like I do dark artwork very often. I mean, we all have a dark side to ourselves. I mean, I like Halloween, I like ghosts, and I like all of that sort of stuff. I don't usually bring that into my artwork because it's not something that I focus on. However, I do think that in this instance, this is the right time to introduce it, should we say. Just this last little bit here, and then I really do think we're over. I think I'm going to put something over that because it didn't go on well, and I think I'm going to take a little bit more. That's the wrong one. Just take that off the bottom off there. Yeah, it's my OCD coming in, guys, that actually I just can't let that look like that. I just can't do that. Let's get a piece stuck down the top of there. So I don't know how many of you actually are in the Chicago area. I don't know whether any of you were actually affected by the shooting. I don't really know a lot of things, to be honest with you. I don't know. I mean, shootings and violence are definitely not something that's just in Chicago. I mean, it's not something that's just there at all. It's all over the world. So, unfortunately, I don't know why human nature is such that violence seems to be an option for people. Probably because I'm not wired in that way. I do not comprehend violence as a solution to anything. So just put that one there. Right, I think we're done. I don't want to keep on adding that because that's getting morbid. So, right, let's put everything out of the way. So, thank you for your patience with this, guys. Please be aware when you comment on this that for me it is a sensitive subject. Still, I have put my neck on the line a bit by giving my views and opinion on this, which I'm sure someone out there is going to object to. However, for me to record this page, for me to actually now look back at this page and view it in as a memory, I had to be true to myself and true to remembering what I saw there. So thank you for your patience. Thank you for your understanding. And let's look forward to some jollier art in the future, shall we? So on that note, I'm just going to say goodbye, guys, okay? So this is me. I'm Ceri the Crafter. That's Ceri the Crafter. Until next time. Bye-bye. Thank you.